My name is Lisa Welchel. You might recognize me from my time on television. Now I'm traveling the country, meeting people with the most amazing collections we can find.
It's signed by Tolkien.
Oh my goodness! I bring in experts to appraise these treasures and hope to make a deal with our collector to trade one of their precious gems for an elusive item that's missing from their collection. Going once, going twice. Will there be a trade? It's the collector's call. Today I'm visiting Candace Jordan, who collects rare and high-value books.
My husband calls me a hoarder. I prefer to call myself a curator or a collector. I love the books because they all have a personal connection. I mean, I don't collect for investment, I collect for memories.
From the most popular books on the planet to classic bestsellers, Candace holds a strong emotional connection to every book in her collection.
I love sitting in my den and just being surrounded by all this amazing history. I just have to glance around at these bookshelves and I'm filled with inspiration.
Her friend and auction house owner Leslie Heineman knows Candace's collection well and has even sold her several books.
Candace and Chuck, her husband, have been clients forever. They've come to auctions since I started my company in 1982.
I am not a good loser. I'm not good at auctions. I have to win the book almost at any cost. I'm a fierce competitor, and if I want a book, I'm going to get it.
I've brought along rare bookseller and appraiser Tom Joyce, who has 40 years of experience evaluating books.
It's always fun to go through a collection with somebody who built a collection because of the love that they have for the material.
Tom will assess Candace's prized collection, and he's brought one of his own books that he hopes will pique her interest. We'll see if she's willing to make a trade on Collector's Call. Well, Candace, we are in the Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum, the library. You call them your children. I know that we don't have favorite children, but between you and me, do you have a favorite?
I definitely have a favorite. It's my Harry Potter collection. J.K. Rowling came out with that first book, The Philosopher's Stone. It was the most magical thing that I had ever read. I became a really hardcore collector with those Harry Potter books. I own all the American and British first editions, all it's signed. That includes the first book, of which there were only 300 copies. The most important editions that I have were bought at Sotheby's, and it was in 2003. The press speculated that it was J.K. Rowling buying the books back. These were presentation copies to her dad, and her father sneaked the books over to Sotheby's in New York to sell because he needed money at the time. So he thought by selling them at Sotheby's in New York that no one would know, and he could get away with selling these truly priceless, one-of-a-kind books. She put her heart into her inscriptions to her dad. And the case in point is the Goblet of Fire. You can see the inscription, you can see how personal it was. From your firstborn, all these X's and O's, Happy Father's Day 2000, and lots of love.
It just is a wonderful thing to have this set of Harry Potter books. You have the background story where her father needed money, so he sold them hoping they wouldn't catch anybody's attention. And of course, you can't do that. You can't hide something that's that significant.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, this is another presentation copy to her father. But it was so funny because she circled the number 1 and wrote, first edition, I got one. Like it was hard for her to get a copy of her own book.
Wow.
Which is so absolutely amazing, which I love that.
There was so much of J.K.'s energy in the inscription of the book. Maybe it's a hyperbole, but there was like a holiness around it.
And then I have one more. And this is the deluxe edition of The Prisoner of Azkaban. And so again, she signs it to her dad and Jan with lots and lots of love, and up the Sunday Mail because they gave her a bad review about one of her books. And then she circles again the number 1 and says, guard it with your lives.
Oh my goodness, there's some irony.
These are priceless to me. It was Christmas, my husband Chuck and I went to view the books in New York, and you had to use white gloves to open it, to look at it. My hands literally shook when I took hold of this book because you could just, I felt all the emotion from it. I think I might have had tears in my eyes. I thought that those were going to go so high that would have been out of our price range. For Christmas, my husband Chuck had bought all 3 of them for my Christmas present.
How surprised were you on Christmas morning?
The words can't describe it. Even talking about it still, I get goosebumps when I think about what my husband did for me.
Can we ask how much your husband paid for them?
We paid about $75,000, $80,000 for the 3 books.
I think I would have guessed even more than that.
Yeah, well.
They are priceless.
As my husband likes to say, it was below estimate. That somehow makes him feel better about the cost.
Well, can you make him feel even better about the cost? Like, how much would these be worth?
These are so special because They're from the author to her father. It could bring anywhere from $250,000 and possibly more.
You are thrilled, and your husband can hear this, and he can be thrilled. Everybody's happy.
Those Harry Potter books would create an enormous buzz at auction. They're worth a fortune. We would obviously die to sell them if she ever decides to.
In light of the fact that they will be continuing to increase in value, do you ever see a time that you would sell them?
Right now, I say no, but it would be a hard stretch to find something better than these books.
I think so, too.
And another addition to the Potter books, I got very lucky when I found 2 signed scripts from the first 2 films. And so I have the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone signed by all of the cast members.
Oh, my goodness.
And what I love the most is that Rupert Grint and Daniel Radcliffe both had to put their characters' names under their signature, like no one knew who they were.
I know what it's like to get everybody at one time to sign a script like that. Somebody had the foresight to do that. That's just amazing. Where did you find these?
A friend of mine deals in movie memorabilia, and he knew that I had collected these books. So when they came up, he offered them. I said, oh, yes.
Leslie, do you ever see signed with the entire cast like this come through?
I don't know of another set, do you?
No, I've never seen another set.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes it better or worse if there's no way to really comparison shop, but I'm really happy to have them.
How much did you pay for both of these signed
You know,
scripts?
I think I paid like $1,500 a piece for these scripts.
I can imagine just some of these individual autographs alone are worth a lot, much less all of them on a script. So how much would both of them bring?
Well, it's hard to get a crew from a film to get enough people to sign it, and so it would be tough to get them to be able to do that again. You're probably looking at $5,000.
I think they're worth a lot more, Thomas, but I'm going to bow to your judgment. Thomas, I think, quite frankly, gave it a lowball figure for that price, but I've never seen anything like the scripts. Put that all together, it's priceless.
I've never seen any fully signed scripts like that from a film, from a major cast. I think I have one with all the Facts of Life signatures, but don't think it's going to bring the same kind of money. Coming up on Collector's Call, Candace's magical book collection delivers some sparkle.
There's only 200 copies of this one, and this is number 62. When I heard about this book, I thought, that's just a miracle story.
And our expert Tom offers to trade one of his favorite books for one of Candace's treasures. So what did you bring today, Tom? I'm with collector Candace Jordan in her library of rare books, where the stories are almost as valuable as the books themselves. Stories behind her treasures are worthy of telling.
I don't collect for investment, I collect for memories. I remember all of these books from my childhood, and they bring back such wonderful memories.
I've also brought expert Tom Joyce to appraise several of Candace's favorite pieces and to see if she'll trade one of her books for a special find from his own collection. Among your children's books, is there one in particular that you love more than others?
I do love the Winnie the Pooh. I found these at auction, then I bought the collection. So I have the original True First, that's a smaller size book, and then the large print, a large size limited editions.
The Winnie the Pooh books are amazing and darling and charming, and it's so sweet that Candace loves them.
These characters, Tigger and Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh and his lust for honey, it's a wonderful world created by A.A. Milne.
This one's signed by Milne and E.H. Shepard, the illustrator. And there's only 200 copies of this one, and this is number 62.
When she had the larger version and had the autograph of not only the author, but also the illustrator, she just keeps topping herself.
I've seen probably 3 of those in the last 25 years.
So how much did you pay for both of those?
$6,000 for this one. Bought the whole set for this one. And I think that at the time, because I bought this a long, long time ago, I paid like $2,800, I think.
So how much would you say that these two would be worth?
Well, the limited signed one of only 200, Shepard isn't signing anymore and Milton isn't signing anymore. That's going to go today from about $3,500 to $5,000. And the multiple volumes of the Pooh series are probably in the $6,000 to $8,000 range.
Wow. But yes, of course, just like your children, you wouldn't sell them for anything.
No. Well, you never know. I'm never going to say never, but for right now, they're going to stay in my library.
You know, they say limited edition. This really is a limited edition.
I'd like to share this book. This little pamphlet, The Greatest Gift, was written by Philip Van Dorn Stern. In 1943, he wrote this as a kind of a Christmas card for his friends. And he self-published it. The director, Frank Capra, got his hands on this book and loved it so much that he finally turned it into the classic film, It's a Wonderful Life.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it all started with the idea of a Christmas card for his friends.
What a wonderful story. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Now, where did you get this?
I got this at an auction, but the most incredible thing about this book is this is signed by Philip Van Doren Stern, and it says, "This small booklet, this fable, which made our home and then theirs possible." So this book helped him pay for his house and then helped him buy the house of the person who he signed this book to.
The greatest gift is a hidden object, but it became an iconic film for Christmas time, and it's just has become part of the fabric of the holiday season. Ultimately, only 200 people can get the real thing, and to have a copy that's signed by the author is especially special.
Things like this really kind of pique my imagination because it's so unusual. The greatest film of all time would come out of a little story like this.
Yes,
I mean, it's
the
just
classic Christmas movie.
yeah. I only paid $1,700 for this pamphlet, and I think that was a steal.
Had you been looking for the book?
I never thought I would ever find it. I mean, it was like a fairy tale. One day I see this and I think, oh my God.
This is one of the beautiful things about books, that oftentimes there's simply a story that wants to be told or a story that wants to be shared with someone. And then because there's such universality and connection between all of us, it resonates with each one of us.
It's a wonderful item because you could come across it and not even know what it is. In fact, very few people know what it is. I wouldn't know.
Well, obviously, this is priceless for so many reasons. But what would you appraise this?
Well, it's kind of a sleeper book because if it said It's a Wonderful Life on the cover, that would be much more attractive, but it could turn up in a box in a thrift shop for $1, and because people don't know what it is.
Unless you're Candace.
That's true, yeah.
And if you do know what it is, it's again probably worth $3,000 to $5,000.
I think it's more. I think Thomas, starts a little bit on the low end, and I think we need to kind of move it on up to here for those estimates. It's not just that he signed this book, it's a presentation copy. It says, "This is the booklet that made my house possible." I mean, what kind of a story could be better than that?
Coming up, Candace will have to make a call whether or not to accept Tom's ambitious trade.
Well, I'd love to have The Hobbit.
Really? I'm visiting rare book collector Candace Jordan to see her amazing treasures, and I've brought along expert Thomas Joyce to appraise the valuable collection. He's brought an item from his own collection that Candace is missing from hers, and seeing if she is up for a trade. Her good friend Leslie Heineman has an auction house herself. So Leslie, how many books do you sell a year?
We auction about 5,000 books, I would guess. We have about 3 or 4 book sales a year.
Are most of them first editions or just all different kinds?
I think about 80% are first editions.
And how do you get your books?
It's all on consignment, and
Okay.
our supply is from, we say, the 3 Ds: death, divorce, and debt.
Oh, oh my.
Candace has very eclectic taste. She likes things that are sentimental and mean something to her.
My book collecting years started with Leslie Hyman's auction house. I wanted to find a present for my husband for Christmas. He loved Ernest Hemingway, and at one of her book collections, she happened to have 3 first editions in beautiful red binders. I paid $5.50 for the books, and that's how our whole collection started. We developed a fabulous friendship. She's one of my very best friends. This is Death in the Afternoon, and the special part of the book, it's a first, but it's also signed by Ernest Hemingway.
Wow.
Hemingway is such an iconic American writer. This book, The Death in the Afternoon, it was his major book published in the 30s. To get a copy with a dust jacket is really special, and to get the first edition. I haven't seen another first edition in probably 15 years.
How do we know it's a first edition?
Well, this publisher marked their books very clearly, and here on the copyright page is a large capital A, and that's how we know that this is the true first printing.
But that's just this publisher?
Just this publisher. Every publisher has a different method, and they change the methods every so often just to keep you guessing.
I've been interested in collecting books for a long time, but I didn't know there was so much to it below the surface. Leslie, if we were to bring this book to auction, what do you think she could get for it?
I think it's bringing in the $4,000 to $5,000 range, Tom, is that right?
I think so. Well, the main value of this book is the autograph by Hemingway, since he hasn't signed any books in 50 years. Just the autograph alone is worth about $3,000 to $4,000.
And what would it be without the autograph?
Probably about $750 to $1,250.
I paid $1,800 for it, so I still made a good deal.
You made a good
job.
deal. Yes. Now, I understand you also collect Ian Fleming's books.
Right, and that is all thanks to my husband, who is a huge James Bond fan. One of my favorites of the Flemings is the Dr. No, because of the story attached to it. I have a friend, we were both centerfolds together, Patty and I, for Playboy. She was a good friend of Sean Connery, who played James Bond in this film. And he and his wife had an art exhibition, and I realized that I had this book. I said, I'm taking it with me. I'm going to ambush him and have him sign it. So sure enough, I kept it in a big bag. And I went in and I said, Sean, we have a mutual friend. And he had this huge smile on his face. He says, oh, yeah. And so then I whipped my book out with a pen, and his smile turned upside down, but he still signed the book for me. So it was a great memory. And here's a picture of him before I whipped my book out.
In and of itself, it's a treasure, but to have the autograph, that just makes it even more worthwhile.
Now, this book has another point to it, though.
What's that?
There's a figure of a woman, very light brown, on the cover. This is a variant copy. Some copies don't have that figure on it, and that makes it a little more desirable. And you don't see it until you look under the dust jacket.
And is this a first edition?
Yes, true first.
What's a true first?
First edition, first printing is the true first of a book.
Okay.
Yeah, right, Thomas? You know.
Right. It's the idea of the first edition that is primary importance, because this is the way the book first appeared.
How much did you pay for it?
Well, Thomas, how much did I pay for it?
$750.
And how do you know? Did you sell this to her?
Yes.
I did.
Bought this from Thomas Joyce. That was a real steal.
Really? Okay, so like what would it be worth now?
Well, now it's different than when I sold it. It
Right,
had
because
value
now-
added with Sean Connery's signature, so probably now it's about $2,500.
So it was worth the little frown.
Yes, no question.
And of
I'm
course-
shameless when it comes to things like that.
I love how passionate she is about her collections, and you can tell she does not take no for an answer. So what draws you to seek a particular book?
I purchase everything because it's something that I love or something that relates back to something that I love, particularly the children's book from my childhood, because I was a voracious reader, and like the book Bambi and The Hobbit that I have. I love that whole franchise. And so when I saw this book at auction, it really appealed to me.
Oh, so you have an original Hobbit.
I don't have a true first, but I do have a Hobbit. And even though it's the third printing, 1966, what makes this book so very special to me is that it's signed by Tolkien.
Oh my goodness.
He had the most incredible signature, probably the most creative of any of the signatures or autographs that I've ever seen.
Have you come across any of the Hobbit books?
We get Tolkien material from time to time, and a couple of years ago we had copies of The Hobbit.
She didn't call me, though.
She did it. What kind of friend is she? I know it's priceless to you, but what price did you have to pay?
$2,500.
$2,500. Tom, I think this is a good deal.
Well, Tolkien isn't around to sign any more copies, and his autograph alone would bring anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000.
So that one page was worth more than the whole book. Not to you, of course.
Not to me.
So what would be the difference in an autographed third edition and just a first edition not autographed?
About 50 grand.
Oh, that surprises me, because I would think that the autograph would be so much more special.
It is to me. I knew it wasn't a first edition when I bought it. It's in jacket, and it's signed by Tolkien. I mean, I don't think you can get a better combination than that.
While Candace's stories bring out the depth of Candace's commitment to her collection, I'm wondering how much it's all worth. First, we had the amazing J.K. Rowling inscriptions on the Harry Potter books and the cast-signed movie scripts, the Winnie the Pooh series, The Greatest Gift, Hemingway's Death in the Afternoon, Ian Fleming's Dr. No, and of course, The Hobbit. But there are even items we haven't seen that Tom must take into consideration. I know it's priceless to you, but Tom, what would you give to her collection, what it's worth?
Well, I would guess that the combined collection would be between $400,000 and $600,000.
That's impressive.
I think that his estimates were very low for my books. I think that for books that are one of a kind, like most of my books are, and for the points that I have, the signatures and things like that, the stories behind them, truthfully, I think he left a couple zeros off.
Candace may not be impressed with Tom's estimate, but maybe he can win her over with a special gem from his own collection.
Thomas and I go way, way back. He knows his books, and he knows my collection. So I would be curious to see what he thinks I would part with for whatever he would bring.
We always ask our expert to bring a little something, maybe to entice you to do a little trade. So what did you bring today, Tom?
Well, I brought this volume of East of the Sun, West of the Moon by Kai Nielsen. They're actually Norse legends that this fellow illustrated. And I think that you would like the illustrations for them. The illustrations are tipped in.
Ooh, those are beautiful. Those are works of art.
Everybody loves old mythology and folklore.
Now, is there anything that you have seen today that you would love to make this trade for in Candace's collection?
Well, I'd love to have the Hobbit.
Really? Coming up, Candace must make a decision on whether or not she'll trade her Hobbit for Tom's illustrated treasure. Going once, going twice. Rare book appraiser Tom Joyce has just made Candace a bold offer. Trade her 3rd edition copy of The Hobbit, signed by J.R.R. Tolkien, for a beautifully illustrated copy of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, complete with tipped-in artwork. Ooh, those are beautiful. Those are works of art. So what is this book worth?
$375, which doesn't quite compare, but if she loves the illustrations, the price is no object.
Now, is there anything that you have seen today that you would love to make this trade for in Candace's collection?
Well, I'd love to have the Hobbit.
Well, I hope she takes the offer on the book. I read all of the Lord of the Rings, and I'm a big Tolkien fan. It would be fun to have any of his signatures.
Tom's object of desire? Candace's Tolkien book, which he just valued at $5,000. So we'll see if Tom gets his wish. I don't know. The Hobbit has the autograph and everything. That's pretty special.
It's very
I'm
special.
working for you here, Candace. How am I doing on this auction
Good job.
thing?
Really
yeah?
good.
Okay. I was not very neutral in my opinion about that trade. I will be shocked if she takes this deal. So what do you think, Leslie? Do you think Candace is going to trade?
I don't think there's a chance in hell that Candace will trade for that.
Well, what do you really think?
And she's right.
And she's right. Good try, Tom.
One can only try.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but, well, I told you so.
I'm going to pass on it. It's a nice book. It doesn't speak to me. And every book I have has a story in it. And when I see it, I know I want it instantly. And this is not one of them.
But this is full stories.
This is not one of them.
Am I disappointed? Of course. It's always nice to be able to trade up, but I really didn't expect, unless she truly fell in love with these illustrations, I didn't expect that she would accept my offer.
I love Thomas, and I know he's a fount of information about book dealing and collecting. So I value his opinion, but we have different tastes in books. There's nothing that I know of at all that I would rather have than the books I've already collected. So I don't think there is any book he could have brought that I would have traded with my books.
Tom, did you dress for this occasion?
I did.
Well, as you can see, yes, it is Rudolph. The writer Robert May wrote this book in like 1939 for his daughter.
His daughter runs the business.
She probably got a penny or two off your tie.
I'm sure she did.